does this mountain bike and this kayak have in common? Well, much like when I would do single track back in the mid and late 90s, like every weekend, you know, every weekend I was fixing some sort of puncture in a tire. Carried a kit with me the same way that I carry a repair kit with this inflatable kayak. Right now, much like I think it's the rear tire in this one, there's a slow leak. This one's good. This one's good. That one has a slow leak. Today we're going to go over how you patch those leaks and you know, how you deal with it on the water. I've covered it in another video. You can go ahead and check that one out in the Inflatable Kayak playlist on my YouTube channel. But today we're going to do a more permanent fix once we find the slow leak that's in this inflatable kayak. Okay, got everything I need right here for both on the water quick patching so you can continue with your adventure, but also the more permanent fix, which is what we're going to do today. At the center of it all, you got to have a K-Pump Mini. You can get these through NRS, and I keep it in this bag, and it stays strapped to the seat rest there on the back of the kayak, right there on that bar. So also in there I have some of this Terraid. Actually, I'll just empty out what's in there. This is my big box of it, and I carry a little bit of sandpaper to rough it up. And yeah, I have braid scissors which I use to cut the Terraid patch, and I just slap it on there. That gets me through the rest of my day of fishing. But once you're home, first you have to find the leak. That's why I got a spray bottle with just water. Gonna get ready to put some of this dish soap in there, and we're gonna spray that right on the hull. I still got to get some soap in there first, and when we locate the hole by seeing the bubbles come out of there, we're gonna clean it and we're gonna sand it. We're gonna get some of this. This is actually the patch kit that came with it. It's got a couple things in there. These are actually for doing repairs and tightening and loosening the valves, which that may be where the leak is. Who knows? Here's some material that we're gonna patch over it. We'll cut the right size piece, and I guess they already gave you a little bit of the repair adhesive with it, but I like using this stuff. Aquaseal does a great job. It's a slow set, so being that I have a trip tomorrow morning, I think I got enough time. It's midday, and I think this will set up in time for tomorrow's trip. So let's start. Get the soap in the bottle. Start spraying different parts of the boat. After we pump up the side with the slow leak, and we'll see what we can find. A little bit of honesty here. I've been putting this off. I've gone 16 days on the road knowing this has a slow leak, and it's slow enough that honestly I've been getting by just pumping it up enough that I can get through the next, you know, probably 3 days. I pump this up to where there's reasonable, yeah, that's good tightness. That's all it takes me to do to get through the next 3 days. But it's time to get my soapy water going and see what I can find. Actually, I'm going to start with the valve, because that's probably one of the biggest, most likely culprits. And I'm spraying that soapy water all the way around, and I do not see bubbles. So it's likely I have a puncture somewhere. Maybe from a fish fin. I really don't think it's from the hook. I have yet to really have a nasty hole from a hook. I've had, I'll show you this one right here. Let's see if I have that angled right. This one is from Mike Iaconelli. Kind of ran into it with his Torpedo motor. So I keep spraying until I see the bubbles coming out. And hopefully I'll show you here in a little bit what that looks like when I find it. Found it right here. I'm gonna spray something on there. You see that? Let's get closer. Let's take a look. Ultimately, what I'm gonna need to do with that little bit bubbles, I gotta mark it with a Sharpie. So I will dry that off, circle it with a Sharpie, then we're gonna patch it. But I found it. And believe it or not, that little tiny, you know, that doesn't really totally deflate it for like 3 days. Seems like a lot coming out, right? I guarantee you, for where it is in the kayak, this is flipped upside down. My seat is right there. I bet you I was landing a fish and the fin came and just jumped and bam, nailed it right there. Fish fins are probably the most common way that you get a hole in a kayak. And they're tiny little holes. But you know, it's totally fixable. And if I found that on the river, you know, or out on the water, I really wouldn't be that alarmed. I could slap some of that Terry type B and get to it later. But I didn't even know it was there, other than, you know, each successive day that I was out on the water, I was like, this is getting softer. So, all right, found it. Now it's time to patch it. So before I deflate this, which I'm going to need to deflate this outer of 1, 2, 3 chambers, I want to point out this one. This is the one where Mike bumped the reverse on his Torpedo, and I'm telling you, there are slashes from there to about there from a prop from his Torpedo propeller, and another one from about there all the way up to there. So I did this, I don't know, back in like April, I think, and it's holding good. It's not the nicest patch job, but even a big gash like that can you know, hold up. And it's really the strength of the Aquaseal on the outer edge. I smeared the whole thing with the Aquaseal, then put this over it, and then I just beaded it up right there. But I don't think that's what I want to do for this one. I've marked it, and I think I'm just going to smear some Aquaseal across that spot, and I think that's going to be enough. I don't need an actual patch for that because it's such a tiny little hole. I'm going to leave it there, but I'm gonna smear some Aquaseal, and that should seal it up. So before we patch it, we need to get all the air out of this, and you depress right in the center of the valve there. And I really want to push all the air out that I can. Well, maybe not all of it, but you cannot have any air wanting to escape there. because it will bubble up through the adhesive that's trying to form. That's probably going to be good for now. And it'll weaken the repair job that you're trying to do will weaken. So next thing we're going to do is find a position so that this can lay flat. I thought it would be leaning against these sawhorses, but I'm thinking I'm going to move the sawhorses to the other side because of the way the track is. I don't know. I need the surface to be facing straight up, because if it's not facing straight up, all that Aquaseal is going to go whoop and just slide off, and it'll be a very thin layer. We want it to pull up right on the spot where we've marked. So I'm going to reposition the kayak and make sure that that happens. So I sort of changed my mind on what I want to do with this. I have full faith that the Aquaseal and maybe a quarter size little puddle of it on there would have no trouble sealing up that tiny little fish fin puncture. And I do believe that's what it is. But I want to have a more complete video for you if you have something that you feel is more severe. So we are going to use the patch material. What I'm going to do is just cut I'm going to just kind of continue this round shape here. Ends up looking a little bit like a football. That's fine. So I'm taking that, and we're going to take, which way are we going to do this? Yep, I'm going to put that side down, so I'm going to sand this side, and I will do this in many different directions. And when we're done sanding this, we're going to sand the affected area on there, and this just allows the adhesive to really get a good grip. Make sure you go all the way to the side. Just kind of push it right along the edge, and multiple angles of these basically scratch marks on that patch is going to be good. Like a cross hatch, and even, you know, if you can do some circles on it is good too. Lets it really set in there. All right, so once that's done, and I just happen to have an alcohol pad handy, but anything to really clean off the area that you've just sanded, just so you don't have that dust getting in the way of the adhesive. You really want that to stick on there good. So I think we're in good shape there. I'll do the same thing to the affected area on the inflatable, and then we'll slap it on there with the Aquaseal. There's my affected area right there, and the way this is going to go on, it's going to be about like that, and I think I'm actually going to use this rock to hold it in place like that. The key is you have a concave surface, so the Aquaseal isn't just going to pour off. So we got the Aquaseal open here, and just going to squirt a little bit of that on there. You just want to pull it up there and then push out to as far out. And honestly, you could do a better job than what I'm doing with my finger here, but you're just pushing it out as big as you think that patch is, and if you run beyond it, that's okay. You actually get a little bit of strength in beating it up along the outside. That's not quite big enough. We'll keep going. Alright, I think we're there. I'm gonna push on that just to make sure that it's seats down in there real good. So I've kind of pushed from the center outward to kind of squish if there's any air bubbles, and I did look for air bubbles coming out of the hole. If you had this inflated, you would absolutely get air bubbles coming out of there. You don't want that. While that starts to get a little bit tacky, I'm going to place this rock on there just to make sure that it stays down. You don't want to have any of the corners curl up and not really get a good seal there. That corner right there needs to be mashed. Reposition the rock there. All right, I'll let it do its thing, and you know, I'll be pumping it up here in a little while. All right, there's our patch done, sealed, ready to pump it up and hit the water tomorrow. Always keep the K-Pump Mini on the back of the seat.